So they're selling for 40 ETH, and yeah, let me pull it up.
How do
And
you look up the I'm really not literate with OpenSea, but
okay,
can you pull up so we can see what the highest floor price was ever? Is there a way to do
highest
that?
ever.
The
Let's see
highest
if
ever floor?
yeah,
If you
let's see
want to
if I can.
share screen and
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up. Share my screen. There we go. Bored Apes. Here we go. Okay. So we're on Bored Apes. We could probably just look at like activity, and it might not show all time. So that will determine if we can see
oh yeah, but it goes back. I mean, you're looking at November
a year.
2021 till May 2022. Those are going to be
So at peak, the average price was 170 ETH, and at the time, what was ETH going for back in August 28th?
probably 2,500, something like that.
Sure, and it's ridiculously high, but my beef is it with the pseudo journalism is like, what's wrong with Bored Apes? And I'm like, and my point was this: like, if you come over here and you look at June 18th, they've transacted 9,600 ETH. That's like 90 grand today. And then
It's more than that.
it's definitely more than that. Then the creator fees, it's definitely more than that. The creator fees are 2%. These guys have a treasury that is humming along. Is there anything actually wrong with the Bored Apes? No. There's just it might be getting bad press, and there's a lot of stuff in the works. The mechs, they had the mech things coming out. They're building out their games. I think they're just in building mode with a huge war chest, aside from the drama. But so I did not understand the headline when the headline like, "What's wrong with Bored Ethan?" For those who are just piping in, we were talking off camera, so I said we just got to bring this on camera. And just in the last 2 hours alone, one, two, three, four, five different apes sold for what you could say is 40 ETH. I mean, we're talking 40, yeah, there's the price, 71,000, 71,000. So 70,000 times 5 is, what is that?
350.
300,000 in the
Yeah.
last 2 hours. In the last 2 hours. And they have a, what's the creator fee?
So is the creator fee still
Yes.
respected on OpenSea? I thought that they were done with royalty fees on OpenSea. I thought that that was no longer a thing.
I mean, you have the option to,
Okay.
but I don't think every creator who creates through open, it would blow my mind
I thought that
if
that was
I
the case.
if I minted, but the thing that I minted on OpenSea, I wasn't allowed to charge a creator fee, I would be livid. I
I thought there
wouldn't.
was the initial fee that was still valid. Like it was the first mint, like whenever you put it on chain, essentially,
For sale.
then for sale. Yeah, I'm talking like the first one. But I didn't think after there was the residual uh, in perpetuity fee. That's what that's my understanding. I mean, I was talking with um, the creator, co-creator of not what is it? Not Crypto Bros?
That's
Not
us.
no, not your bros. Sorry, the Australian
That's us, bro.
NFT. That is a not your bros. The Australian NFT collection, which Allison is a part of. It's actually one of her avatars, and they were
Okay.
just saying that like it's been really really tough because of the royalty fees being taken out. So I think that the creator fee still stands, but I think that that's just from initial sale. I think for secondary and tertiary sales, I don't think that Bored Ape is seeing that anymore, from what I understand on OpenSea.
That would be a different ballgame.
I think that that actually changed like 6 months ago.
I mean, I remember the news. How can we check that? How can
I'm
we
Googling
check?
it right now.
Yeah. Because the way I'm calculating it, in the last 2 hours, they've pulled 8,750 in creator fees. But if what you're saying is correct, then they have zero income. And whenever that ended, they're just burning. They're on a burn rate now. From a business perspective, that they would be struggling. And then I could definitely see someone get desperate. And I wonder how many Bored Apes that they held back for their own holdings. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So I brought something up here. It says that with this was the ongoing marketplace war. I believe it's still going on. I was actually having a conversation about this earlier, but about Blur and how much market cap they're starting to take. But it says with this NFT marketplace war ongoing, OpenSea has removed its previous 10% royalty fee to a mere 0.5% fee. Moreover, reducing creator royalties may not be a good thing for the NFT ecosystem overall. OpenSea also stated in late 2022, this was a new thing, that royalties would be respected for contracts deployed before January 2nd, 2023. So maybe they're still respected for Bored Apes because it was obviously been online since I think July or June. Someone will correct me, of 2021. So there's that. But anyone coming on new, is not going to be able to have those royalty fees. And George Pate says, "What's up, gangsters?"
Yeah. Are we sure about that?
Yes. Oh yeah. Very sure about that.
You can play around with whatever fee. I am looking at the documentation on OpenSea.
I mean, this has
You
been a huge thing. This has like really affected um, a lot of different communities.
but literally, I mean, so setting your secondary sale fee. I mean, I have a link.
Your royalty fee.
Your secondary sale royalty fees.
Mm-hmm.
Earning crypto
Mm-hmm.
every time an item is sold anytime on OpenSea. Collect a fee whenever. Percentage fees you determine. Fees are usually set. Fees are usually set between 5 and 10%. However, royalties are charged to the seller. Allison, what do you know about what is that about fees? So Allison, we're deliberating, we're trying to decipher the things we're looking at to see if OpenSea allows for any secondary sale creator fees or if they
So
eliminated OpenSea's fees.
no, so OpenSea's fees stay. Um, it's the secondary. It's any royalty fee. I think they've cut down to only 0.5%. That's what I understand. That's why creators are more excited about Blur. That's the way I understand how this has come down. And this happened like 6 months ago. This happened at the end of 2022. They announced this new policy moving forward.
I, 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 well, then I don't know why they still have this on the OpenSea doc. I mean,
Can
documentation.
you drop me the link?
Yeah. Let's drop the link here for everybody to look at, and someone tell me what I am missing. My understanding of the creator marketplace war. Yeah. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. So my understanding is that the seller charges a fee and the marketplace charges a fee. And the marketplace has decided to eliminate or limit what the marketplace charges, but the seller should be able to allow at any rate, at any sale, primary sale or secondary sale, to make what they want. So I just dropped a link there for those. That's only on Twitch and YouTube. Let me drop it on LinkedIn. This is the link, and someone out there who's probably got their fingers tapping much quicker than Jared or I do at the moment. Let us know how you interpret whether or not, if I start a collection and Jarrett buys it on the primary, I get a fee. But if Jarrett sells it to Allison, would I still get my fee? And I was always under the impression that that's when OpenSea says no, OpenSea will back out, but I can do what I want. So I'm not really sure there. Jarrett's reading it like he's reading a master's.
Well, I mean, this is just what I've heard from people who
Yeah.
have NFT projects that are worth hundreds of thousands of ETH. So
Yeah.
like I've never, launched something like a collection on OpenSea, so I don't know, but this is just what we've heard.
Yeah.
And that they wanted to do this. I think they also wanted to do this because OpenSea foresaw this security issue, foresaw the issue of like, oh, are you promising that the price is going to go up? If you're building in a royalty, it assumes that you think that there's going to be sales post the initial minting.
That's
So
interesting.
I think a lot of people have tried to like change the way that they approach this. Even staking on Binance, I think, is changing now because since you can't on ramp anymore. with dollars. So I just think everyone's kind of molding to the new reality where things may not be as cool as they once were just because there's a little bit more regulation around.
Yeah. And how are you dealing with that? So Binance was your dominant on ramp, and you've said it before, but recap. What are you doing now this week for any on ramping?
Yeah, so I was playing around with that actually yesterday, and I was moving stuff, just my weekly move off, into Ledger, and I'm just only buying Bitcoin now through Swan. That's it. I'm not buying anything else right now. DCAing. That's it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really because I'm buying these things for 10 years. I'm buying these things for the long haul, and I don't really see anything else that's going to be as bulletproof as that. Um,
And
Ethereum has
and
been rumored to not be a security. There's like all these leaked emails that show that they don't believe it's a security.
yeah.
But I'm just kind of like, I already feel like I have a pretty good bag for Ethereum, and
Mm,
I'm not selling anything, but I'm
yeah.
not going to continue to DCA in anything other than Bitcoin right now. I just don't really see, you know, before we got on, we were just talking about like the doomsdayers, right? The
The
crypto preppers,
doomsdayers.
the blockchain preppers, and the blockchain preppers will say you should have Bitcoin. At the end of the day, that's the thing that people are going to want most around the world. Probably, I would say
Yeah.
Ethereum makes the argument as well, but I don't really have an easy way to get Ethereum, and I find Coinbase to be really expensive. So I'm just kind of like, okay, and I already feel like I have other bags set up to where I want, and I just want to continue to get more Bitcoin at this price right now.
You know what you're
Um,
getting at though that I'm starting to see is, the trend now is even the mega diamond hands are settling down. I mean,
what do you mean?
we can go on crypto Twitter. Swarm. Did you say you're using Swarm Exchange?
Swan, yeah, Allison Swan, swanbitcoin.com. Now, Swan is going through a little bit of change with some system upgrades, which have been not great for the user experience in the last 7 days. But I've been using Swan, and a maxi turned me on to Swan about a year ago. And I think it has cheapest fees. It's 1%, super transparent. You can set up your what they say, your weekly or your monthly save, and you can also have it so that way when you have a certain amount of Bitcoin on Swan, it will auto cash out. It will auto send to your cold storage. So I have both of
That's
those set up now.
interesting.
Yeah, I have both of those set up now. So I'm not even thinking about it. And I have increased, let me just do the math, my weekly DCA by, yeah, I've increased it by about 40% today.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just putting it all in there, putting it all into Bitcoin right now.
You are a true believer, my friend. That is
True
that
believer.
a true believer. And I
True
swore
believer.
before we got on the show I wasn't going to reference
Well,
real estate. So
yeah,
no, I'm not going to say.
you can't talk about the RE.
I can't talk about real
You
estate.
can do religious education, but you can't do.
Well, and but to your point, the thing I was saying is that when I say settle down, I mean this. Um, even people in crypto Twitter, and we follow a lot of the same people in crypto Twitter, like the mega degens, I find they're not percolating as much. They're almost trying. Like I watch some of like the real hardcore degens who like, they post a photo half naked and say, "Oh, whatever it is I'm doing, send me ETH." If it's one of the female influencers or one of the guy influencers, will be like, "Hey, this is what I'm up to. Who's checking out Pepe?" And it's like, bro, like altcoin season is over, shitcoin season is over, but even more than that, even just the engagement farming is not reeling people in. And I find that people are just calming themselves down. And when you talk about, you know, how hardcore you've gone with your DCA, because you're not selling previous alts that you have. You've got a good handful of bags, so you're not like rebalancing the portfolio. You're just like, I'm not going to mess around. I think a lot of people are like, okay, we need a breakout to the high end or to the low. Like we need the market to tank or we need the market to take off. But this neutral zone is just driving. I think it's making people crazy, but they're calming down. They're not. I don't know. Have you noticed that? Do you see something different? I mean, you think crypto Twitter is as actively degen as it has been historically?
Well, yeah, and I think you hit on a really good thing. It really depends on who you follow on crypto Twitter, and you and I do follow probably around 50 to 60 of the same degen influencers.
Yeah.
Um, I do think that I'll get back to crypto, but I want to hit on what you said. Crypto's been in a lull. I saw a tweet today, and it was like Balaji said 100 days ago or something that he was going to, bet $1 million that in 90 days it was going to Bitcoin was going to crack 1 million. Balaji
Yeah.
knew that wasn't going to happen. He was just trying to put a little signal out there among the noise. And the ironic thing was the tweet was like, well, it's been 90 plus days or something, and
Yeah.
Bitcoin's still 27,000. Like,
Yeah.
go back to sleep, continue to DCA. And in that
Yes.
time, so much crazy stuff has happened. Like, in that time, I forget what bank has gone under. It wasn't Signature in Silicon Valley because he did it after those two things. There was a third bank that got mergered or M&A'd, but so much has happened, right? The notices to Coinbase and Binance.
Yeah.
It's just so much has happened, and yet the price stays the same. So it's kind of a
First
weird
Republic.
thing. First Republic, yeah, First Republic.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And I was saying to my boss today, who is deep into crypto, I was like, for this amount of FUD and for this amount of like honest to God like uncertainty around crypto, especially if you're in the United States and you see that Binance, you can't even put money on there anymore. Like, with this amount of FUD, give me a $10,000 Bitcoin. Why are we not there? It seems
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I want to be paid for dealing with this pain right now. I want to be paid with this uncertainty, for this uncertainty. And I put out a episode on More Than Blockchain. I think you guys heard it, but it was like, crypto has me super tired, but at the same time bullish. Like, long term,
Yeah.
like in the short term, I'm very tired, right? It's just not fun anymore. Honestly, crypto Twitter is just like you said, it's just engagement. Now we can go back to that, right? Just engagement farming. And even then, it's just kind of like boring. And I think people, most people on the planet, myself included, we're going to just say the same 10 things, but we're going to just say it in different ways. We're going to package it 10,000 different ways. So that way it hits 10,000 different audiences, which is, before we went on, you're like, oh my God, I promise I won't talk about real estate.
Yeah.
Because Grant and I have this fear, but it's also where we go to when Aussie isn't around. We go to real estate versus Bitcoin. And that is actually a very fine conversation. And I think that we come at it, we've come at it now so many different angles. I think it continue to add value to people listening.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on Twitter now, and it's just like some people are still actually offering interesting ideas. But the deeper we've gone into the bear market, I've just seen people, I don't know, they kind of get so bored that they just start hating. And it's whether they're hating someone else or they're hating themselves. I don't really care for it. Like, self-deprecation is funny for like a minute.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you're just on the internet talking crap about yourself. It's just weird. So that's what I've been seeing. I've been seeing a lot of like deprecation against others and self-deprecation in people's crypto Twitter.
Well, this reminds me of that quote that I've never met someone who was further ahead of me that was making fun of people. And because for several reasons, they know what it took to get to where they're at. B, therefore, they know the fight, and they know that you don't need any of that, judginess. And when the market is the way it is, think about the people that we pay attention to. We pay attention to what Allison is doing. We pay attention to what George Pate is doing. We pay attention to what these people are doing. And these guys are kind of the slow and steady tortoise in the market. We both do DCA, and I have a bit more diversity in my DCA than you do, but it's very boring. It was so boring that I quit paying attention to my Patreon. I had a steady growing Patreon account. That's Aussie and I came to each other through the Patreon. But I realized I'm not issuing a lot of trades, and it's not interesting. And like, I would get on every week and be like, still DCAing, and they're like, get out of here. But what I'm finding is, and I'm even thinking right now of Jackie Roach and how she's kind of refocusing herself within the crypto space for advisement and coaching. And then I think through the other people I've already mentioned, and I think slow and steady wins the race. These people who were hot to trot, who are now just talking junk to other people, they were never really building in the first place. They got in on an NFT community or three. And I'm even looking at, like, I got Twitter up over here, and I'm even looking at some of the Twitter Spaces headlines, and they're starting to drive me nuts. Ethscriptions or ordinals. And it's like, we're just going to deliberate. And like, it's like, no. And then GM, we love to good morning people, but like, Oh, here we go. Just try to sign up for Swan, and they're only allowing private customers outside the U.S. Jarrett, look out.
Allison,
Look out.
why don't you I don't know. Allison, I'll work with you to figure that out because I just
Well,
think
she's
that
in the UK. She should be fine.
she's in the UK, but I think that they are going through Swan is going through a huge thing. They've changed their the company that they use to get the Bitcoin, and that is throwing things off in the last week. But
Mm.
anyways, Allison, let's definitely connect because I think Swan is probably one of the best places to get Bitcoin. Like I said, I now have it set up so it takes money out of my account, and then when I get a certain amount of money, a certain amount of Bitcoin, so I can reduce fees. It's like basically every month it sends it to my cold storage, which I absolutely love that I don't have to like go in and do that. It's now automatic.
That's a great function.
Yeah, it is. But Grant, sorry, you were saying.
Well, no. So I guess I'm just saying the voices there, if they were building, they sounded boring 6 months ago. They sounded boring a year ago, or they sounded like a little bit of old heads. They were talking about very basic things, we thought. There was very little alpha. And now that the market's down, is there no more alpha? And the answer is, well, it reveals that there was an alpha before. It was just hype. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, why am I not excited to get on Twitter anymore? I'm probably not excited because I don't really have much to say right now, and I just end up being a reply guy. And I post a little bit here or there, and I'll share my episodes from More Than Blockchain and the community that's being built there. But this is the thing that I landed on was that if you had Twitter 100 years ago or 200 years ago,
Yeah.
the wealthiest people in the room would have been boring. John D. Rockefeller would have been like gas. I tapped another thing, whatever. Like Carnegie Mellon, like all those people made money from either oil or like the railroad, right?
Yeah.
None of those things are sexy.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, we were laying track today and we hit this rock and it took us 3 days to get it out. That would not go well on Twitter. But you know what would go well on Twitter? Snake oil salesmen. Because they're
Oh,
flashy,
yeah.
they're loud, they're entertaining,
Literal
they're
big tent
charismatic.
revivals. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's hype, And so I
Yeah.
just think that like the way that and that's where I really just think the loudest people on Twitter are the people with the smallest bags. That's my new thing. Like
Well,
full
and I
stop.
want to include too. I'm talking about crypto Twitter. I
For sure.
actually I
For sure.
love I love right now Twitter. I have loved it. I've started following Pomp and Pomp's wife,
Oh
Pompliano's
yeah.
wife,
Oh yeah.
and some of the intellectuals in other spaces on Twitter. I have thoroughly um, enjoyed, and the direction towards long form tweets, by the way, as opposed to threads, is something that we could explore some other day or offline or something like that. But like I'm looking over right now, and my feed even shows there are places where there's subgroups within Bored Apes who are actually trying to build interoperability. And so, like, I even just noticed just now, there's an interoperable function that you can connect your wallet to one of these online poker tables and then play poker with your Bored Ape as your avatar and stuff like that. So, there's some fun stuff like that coming out, but what's the actual use when I'll read you 3 space headlines that is full of people that I follow? Number 1, Andrew Tate arrested. Tommy Robinson joins the call, and it's 144 people who are crypto people that I follow. Another one, support Polygon NFT creators and communities. That's probably a positive one. I really like Polygon and what they're doing. And then like weekly Beam featuring NFT Bark, and it's got 74 people, a bunch of alien friends. And it's like, what are these things even about? And like, I would love to hear from people watching, Allison or whoever, like, what are your favorite spaces? Maybe we need to curate who we're following that are doing better stuff. Sean, G'day, Crypto or whatever. I've really enjoyed his voice in general. And then who else have I really enjoyed? Sailor's dropped off the map, in my opinion. You follow Michael Saylor at all?
Yeah, I follow him, and he has gone a little quiet. I mean, I don't think there's anything amazing going on. I mean, I think, but here's the other thing. I think Saylor throughout 2021, 2020, 2021, and 2022, he was really working behind the scenes. I mean, he was meeting with like CEOs and execs and C-suites all the time, either
Yeah.
one-on-ones or, he'd get them all together in a salon, what's the word? Like a reception hall in a hotel. He does a lot of work behind the scenes for Bitcoin adoption. So he's definitely one of those people too that I don't expect to be on Twitter as much. But yeah, Pompliano's great. His wife is great. She just came out with a book which looks really awesome. I definitely do enjoy a lot of the other stuff that happens on Twitter. I do think that not even just crypto Twitter. I guess it's more like degen NFT Twitter. It's more like people who here's the person I'm trying to describe. They've probably been active on Twitter talking about NFTs or crypto for less than 2 years.
Yeah.
And they don't actually have a bag, but they've built a really good brand. And maybe they actually have got a little money, but their money isn't even a year old. Like, it is the most new money there could be on the planet. And they're all just shoved together, in
Yeah.
like a Denny's or like a Waffle House, which is Twitter. And it's just kind of like the weirdest vibe ever. Brian Naughton says, shout out to NFT Bubbles, nftbubbles.org. Brian, what is NFT Bubbles?
No, this is the one. No. So this is really cool. And Brian, I've been wanting to actually talk to you about this. Are you on this project? So since I have the screen up, I can bring this up. And this is not a project me or Jared are on. We're just fans of Brian. But I think at least one of Brian's close associates, Victor, I forget his last name, they launched NFT Bubbles, and it's a visualization. It's a bubble visualization of the NFT space. And it looks like these are invisible friends, right? Yep, invisible friends look like they're murdering right now. I don't know why they're up so hard. But what I don't understand about the visualization is the sizing of negatives.
Yeah. So if you look right there at the negative 100%,
Yeah.
I guess I want to know what is the zero? Like, what's the baseline?
Well, how do you mean exactly?
Like, what is the base diameter for zero if it hasn't moved?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, yeah, that's a great point because maybe 100 is the baseline, right? But like, if you look at Loots at 5%, it's 5% up. So like something that's green 100% should probably be the same size, right? Well, and it almost is. If you look at like whatever this is going on with fluff here, it's about 65, and that might be a close correlate in terms of size. So it looks like the 100% is the baseline. Victor and Pablo. So Brian says, yes, he has been working on this with Victor and Pablo. And the reason I ask is Brian's been posting a lot about it, and it's very intriguing. It's a fun visualization, but is there a public roadmap? Because I like what this is, but like, what next? And is there a subscription model? It's super cool. And there's other bubble models for crypto, but I think this is the first and only bubble model for NFT volume and trading. But these people are people who are building it. Now, this is interesting, and I never saw it like this, but man, other side is tanking, right? Like
This is what I'm saying. Yuga is having a tough week.
V and Friends. Now, you know what I'm seeing? Well, no, because Yuga is supposed to have a great community. I mean, Bored Apes are up 50%. That's not nothing. Doodles is down a third. It's time to look back at Doodles. What are we talking about, man? Where's the floor? So the floor price is hovering pretty close to your 1.8.
Is it really?
Down. Yeah. So Brian says it's clunky. It's very different to crypto, and the circles are only visualizations, but as a simple interface to kick off a dashboard, 100%. To kick off a dashboard, it's just experiment, really. And Brian, exactly. If I could go in and actually star a handful of my favorites, have a subscription as a micropayment, $9, $10, $20 a month, and then star my favorites, and then have my own dashboard, and then watch us. Go ahead, Jared. What was your thought?
Yeah, is $9 a micropayment?
9 a month?
Yeah, I think micropayments are like a couple hundred sats.
Monthly?
Yeah. I'm just saying. My knee jerk reaction was to you're saying $9 is a micropayment. That's not a micropayment for people. That's a normal subscription. No one's like, oh, I pay for Netflix on a micropayment. No, $10 is a good amount. I guess what I'm saying is micropayments, when you see them normally in crypto, they're cents, if that.
Well, it's good because I have been exploring this thought of defining this term. And the reason is like when you look at NFT now, or you look at attribution in articles that are taking micropayments, you're talking like $1 an article in sats. Now Yes, like there's even smaller micropayments, and micropayments, you could take micropayments all the way down to like what IOTA, the IOTA project, and it was M IOTA. They were really doing, and it was like maybe 1,000 sats for micro data packet
Hmm.
transactions.
Hmm.
And in people's minds, like that might be an anchor point for micropayments. And if that's micropayments, that's 1/10,000th of a dollar, right? And in that case, yeah, that's definitely micropayments. But I guess I was thinking for when people were used to paying for dashboards, they're paying, especially when it comes to trading and flipping, they're paying,
Sure.
$20 to $50 a month. And so my brain starts divvying that out in terms of use. Micropayments to me, it's not just the amount, it's how payments are transacted for use.
Mm.
So I was saying like 9.99, but I was thinking like anytime I log in and access it, it should charge me and maybe in sats for that use that day, which would probably come to like sub $1 sat payment of some kind. Um, and I don't know, I haven't seen anyone experiment with subscriptions like that where you have an established data profile, but you
Hmm.
don't pay on the monthly. You pay on the use, and the use is a lot smaller, but that allows you to budget, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, it does. It does. It does. I was just thinking that, like, you know, I don't even know if it needs to be a subscription. It was just also interesting for me to think that, like, that was the first place you went, you know?
Well,
Um,
how
you
so?
know, we were like, "Hey, when are you going to make it a subscription? You know, how are you going to, it was almost like, how are you going to monetize the toy,
Yes.
And I guess it's maybe
You have
Brian
to
doesn't
you have
want to
to you have to
monetize.
you have to pay for like as devs, people don't realize
Mhm.
how much it costs to host something like that. You do websites,
Yeah, no,
And when
I do. I'm just saying that I don't know. I've seen a lot of really cool stuff with NFTs that looks like this or in Web3, and I just think the jump to want to monetize is sometimes a little too aggressive.
what do you what do you mean?
What I mean is maybe Brian doesn't want to monetize this.
Well, there is a donate. You're right, and there is a donate. But would you consider
Yeah.
donations a form of monetization
Yes, I
in the
would,
way
but
you're
it's more
using it?
passive. It's more passive. It's more like, yeah, donate to support us. For example, like Wikipedia, that brings a lot of the world a lot of love, but it's on a donation basis. It's not like you have to pay $5 to see Wikipedia. Um,
Well, have you seen these CD launches that are like pay what you think it's worth?
oh yeah, of the most famous one was by Radiohead,
I was going to say, yeah,
and
that was the first big one I was
the
thinking
first big
of.
one, Radiohead in Rainbows, 2006, 2007. It was pay whatever you wanted, digital download. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you though, in your paradigm about resisting monetization, I don't think it's a crypto thing. Well, I do think it's a crypto thing, but I think that that's a bug, not a feature. I think that's what is causing so many crypto projects to fail, is that
Mhm.
they're living on this idea that I'm not going to charge, I'm just going to keep going and we'll figure it out. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, that's why you're literally falling apart. Or
Mhm.
at least knowing where on the roadmap you're going to start monetizing. You don't have to start today, but you can build something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that more aligns. It was just kind of like we
Right.
opened it up, and you're like, Brian, when are you going to get people to pay for it? It's like we don't even know what the traffic is. We don't even know how many people are going there. I don't know. I kind of
Yeah.
feel like old school Facebook, right, where Mark kept pushing back against like monetizing and sponsoring because he wanted to make it cool and something that brought value before just saying let's like monetize, monetize, monetize. And I think
Mm,
also just like as content creators, I've just known so many people that have started podcasts out
yeah.
of the couple people actually that I know that have actually started a podcast and got it off the ground for a little bit, the first thing they're on episode 5 and they're like, I have to get a sponsor. I'm not going to continue. I'm like, you haven't even garnered enough attention to even think about a sponsorship, but people don't want to
Meanwhile,
hear
I've
that,
done 289 episodes of the Spark Show. We've done almost
Yeah.
75 of
Yeah. We're
and,
up
and we're
also
long
on,
overdue. We're like old heads. We do need to go get a sponsors.
yeah, on some level we do.
Hey
And I think
Brian,
we
we'll
will
sponsor
when the
Bubbles.
sponsor bubbles. No, that's not where we don't want to sponsor somebody.
Oh yeah. Well,
No,
well,
Bubbles can sponsor us. That's how that
yeah.
works, Grant.
Yeah. That's too funny. So Brian says, I think the team does have an intention of monetizing, but I think the best way to biddle is in the open and see what happens. Exactly. And
Yep.
but I think I guess I do want to push on this a little bit because I've been doing small business coaching for geez, almost 20 years now. And what I've realized is people are chicken shit of asking for money. People are
Hmm.
afraid to sell. And there's good reason for that sometimes. They're not sure that they have something of value. Well, honestly, they should have done that homework before. Meaning that's what like consumer conversations and market product feedback and having 100 of these dialogues is all about. But still, stuff like this, stuff like NFT bubbles, is still kind of it's still cool enough. And we know that like bubble diagrams have worked in many other places, and they're just not here yet. So it's not, and this actually technically isn't a 0 to 1 innovation. So like there's ways that we could just figure out how to make this work, and it's not a real heavy lift. I mean, there's challenges. I don't want to trivialize the developers. They're probably listening to me and like, screw this guy. But like, I mean, developing anything is tough. But so when I ask right away, like, hey, are we thinking about money? The reason is this: it's not about the money.
Hmm.
It's about the ongoing viability of a project, and I watch these things die in the womb so quickly. Could be the not NFT bubble show, not quite the same.
If people tune into that, they're gonna think that it's like a bubble tea NFT, and we just like drink
Today for
bubble tea
Bubba,
and
for NFT
yeah,
Bubbles Day, what are you drinking
literally,
today, Jared? Jared's
yeah.
drinking a licorice boba, and
Yeah, he's got a macchiato pina burnt bubble, like some
we could do though, Brian, is how like you can see our show, the background. We could do a video background
of
of
the
the bubble
bubbles.
just floating behind.
Oh, look, Azuki's up.
Yeah, look, it just kind of elevates in the background. That's
Just kind of
great.
come through.
So, I mean, I guess I asked because Aussie and I have done several startups together. We've invested in his one project, which I think is kind of flat right now. The whatever the calendar was, we
Scheduled.me.
schedule.me, and actually, that's a phenomenal idea. It just didn't move quick enough, and Discord kind of went its own way. But I'll tell you, and we could profile that real quick. The thing about that was it didn't have enough injection of capital fast enough to build something viable long enough to actually sustain the project, and maybe it would even pivot when Discord fell. And so I know, I know the crypto ethos is let's just build something awesome. It's like, yeah, but like my
No,
heart
no.
breaks when projects die too soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just playing devil's advocate there because I just
It's
think it's
good,
kind
it's
of like,
healthy.
because I think that this is more of like it's content, like you
Yeah,
can easily go to OpenSea and see this. It just doesn't look visually as stimulating.
yeah,
You know, there are
yeah.
other places you can find on the internet that have this exact information. This has
That's a
just
valid
been
point.
distilled down to a way that's good.
That's valid.
And I just don't see it much different than content. And so with content, I really feel like you have to probably have a runway to build your name before you can go and ask for money.
Yeah.
Unless you are someone like, for example, Draymond Green, who is a basketball player,
Mm-hmm.
who just says, yeah, I'm going to fire up a podcast. And because he's so incendiary just in general, he
Yeah.
gets so much love. And now he's sponsored his podcast. He sponsored his podcast before he started. But if you haven't, I think you got to build the platform to then get the attention. And then once you have the attention, then it will be warranted to move forward. But I've just seen way too many people build something
Yeah.
and they automatically are just like, oh, I want money. And this is not Brian, by the way. This is not
Yeah. Yeah.
you. This
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
me. I've
Yeah.
just seen people do it. And I'm like, dude, like,
Make this extraordinary first, and then let's talk. Yeah.
yeah, really make this
Yeah.
extraordinary. And I'm like, you've done 288 Spark shows, right? I had my 80th podcast today for More Than Blockchain come out.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, if I hadn't rebranded, that would have been 131
Yeah.
podcast episodes
Oh
because I
yeah.
deleted 51 off Spotify. I deleted 51 off
I
the
remember
internet.
that.
So it takes a long time to I think get to
Mhm.
a place where you can kind of also prove that you deserve the sponsorship. So
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
and projects like this, like we don't know what conversations Victor and has a pretty strong platform. Brian has a strong platform and growing. I don't
Mhm.
know Pablo as well, and they might just think, well, let's build something awesome. Let's get a bunch of users, and let's just do a buyout with OpenSea. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, okay, well, there is monetization being considered, and the focus then is quality is a high enough quality of the underlying tech, build up a strong enough following, and then do a buyout or do a sponsorship like on a page like this. I mean, we could show up one day and right, they might. Here's an easy one to do. If I click in and see that Adidas is popping, and I
Mhm.
saw a button right here that says buy now on OpenSea. And that partnership alone could create a form of revenue with them maintaining brand autonomy and integrity. There's 100 ways to monetize. I just get personally excited when I see that someone has a roadmap that goes, "Hey, we built something really cool, and this is really I like this. This is really cool." Like I didn't know Adidas was moving. I wouldn't even have known to look at Adidas. And because of this visualization, I saw that. Doodles is down. That's a buying opportunity for me because we keep talking, and it's like, well, but you know what's funny about that? What'd you say?
I just said out loud, Doodles is down. I'm just
It's
like,
down, except ETH is back up over 1,700. And our theory that Doodles is maintaining a US dollar price point might be proved here. Like this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I almost want to see that. I want to see prices because like everyone
And
always talks.
USE.
Yeah, everyone always talks about the floor price. And for example,
Yep.
we're talking about, we started this conversation talking about Board Ape Yacht Club, and they go, oh, it's near 40 or 42. And I was reading some comments in the tweets about that. Someone's like, dude, 42 ETH is a lot of money for
Yeah.
99.99999% of the world.
Yeah.
If you happen to have a bunch of ETH, then maybe it's not. But like very
Mm-hmm.
few people are going to be like, let me go ahead and take, especially with the on and off ramp issue right now, but with the on ramp, let me go ahead and take about 60,000 US and
Yeah.
slowly put that into Binance. Like even at Binance, the max I could ever buy daily on Binance, right, was $1,000.
Oh,
That's
wow.
all. So I'm going to
Was that
take for
US or global?
US. That was Binance.us. So I'm going to take 60 days of my life to transfer in $1,000. Also assuming the price won't move. Then turn that into Ethereum and then go bid on a Bored Ape yacht. No, get out of here. No one's
Oh,
doing that.
yeah.
So like it is a lot of money. But I was going to say, yeah, I really think that'd be a really cool thing to show the actual dollar amount as
The
opposed to the
US
floor
dollar
price.
amount.
The US
Because
dollar
ETH is
amount.
moving. And so, like, I would love to see a left hand US dollar chart. You got room for it right there on the left, and you could see the chart, or you could toggle between the two. And I'm telling you, I think you would discover pattern recognition pretty quickly. And I'm willing to bet OpenSea's got all these trading platforms. But this is a fun enough platform where, one that Jarrett and I, for those watching, Jarrett and I always pipe in on is Doodles and a few others. We each have our preferences. One that pops out at me just because of this graphic is Moonbirds. Moonbirds has been absolutely taking a brutal beating, both in PR and press. They haven't delivered on promises and all that sort of stuff, except under the hood, they keep launching artists, which is very unique. Oh, Brian says, "Hey, man, guys, this is exactly the type of feedback." And for those who don't know, we're both, all the Not Crypto Bros, are huge fans of anything Brian's touched so far. Check out his Substack. We believe in that. Check out whatever he's up to. But this is another super cool project, and us riffing is only because Brian and Pablo and Victor didn't think about money at first. They thought about a cool interface. And now we're like, well, it could do this and it could do that. These guys have already had 100 of those conversations of like,
Oh yeah.
what else could we do now that we have the dashboard,
So go ahead and click on Bright NFT. Click on the, this is what I've been looking at briefly.
Which one's
Up
Bright?
on the top right. I'm just saying on the logo.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that will bring you to, it looks like what Brian's got his little Web3 team there. But if you scroll down, you can see the whole team. Brian, Victor, and who?
There we go.
Pablo,
Pablo.
Leonardo, and Muskan.
Oh, I didn't know Muskan was on your team. So I have followed Victor pretty closely. And then I followed Pablo a little bit. And then Brian, obviously, I follow a ton. But what's your thought there? Were you going somewhere with that thought, or just kind of
No,
pointing
no,
these
no.
folks
I was kind of, just surfing around NFT bubbles, and I was like, oh, what is Bright NFT? And then, that is clearly the backbone of the creator of this visual.
Well, and they have a consortium, right, Brian? And we should just have Brian back on the show. I could drop you a link right now, Brian, but we're running out of time a little bit. But like, we should have you and or one of the other team on the show. But I've seen Victor post a bit about Bright NFT, and my impression is it's kind of their consortium for Web3 building and experiments. And I remember them having done Yeti Apes a little bit back, and Yeti Apes was supposed to connect, if I'm not mistaken, AI. That's right. Yeti Apes was supposed to connect AI. Now, Brian, I'm sure you've seen it. There's another AI tool out there. It doesn't animate, but it displays the NFT, and you can upload or connect your MetaMask for any NFT. But it's kind of lame because in their version, it just pops up a ChatGPT and just kind of overlays it, and you have this pseudo dialogue. But Yeti Apes, definitely September 29th, and they're still building. I mean, they're still on roadmap. They've delivered the Yeti Ape. They're doing a slow build, relative to the hype of NFTs, right? Like going from November 4th, 2022 to like 2 quarters later to another quarter later. Some people could get judgy on that, but I like the fact that they're just building slow and rolling out stuff that works.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say me too. And one of the things I've always outlined is one of the three reasons why NFTs die is they have unrealistic roadmaps. And so to see 6 months, to see 3 months between events, I think is a really powerful thing. When people are like, oh, because an NFT project, a pure NFT project, when it starts, is kind of like building the car as it goes, as you drive
Yeah,
it. And that's what DGods is doing better than anyone else right now. They're just being really
yeah.
transparent and they're sharing it with everyone. But when people have like, we start building the car and then 2 months later we're winning the Indy 500, I just like, that's unrealistic. So I'm not going to invest. But when they're like, it's going to take us
Oh yeah.
3 years to win the Indy 500 or to qualify to be in the Indy 500, I'm like, okay, that's something I can
Yeah.
get my head around. You're not even saying you're going to win. You're just going to get to that stage, that level after having 36
Yeah.
months of iteration. So Brian says,
And that in terms of a sales pitch, when you hear a sales pitch like you just presented, you have to then ask, well, that pitch sounds a certain way, meaning you're hitting certain values. And does that appeal to the average VC, the average typical injection of capital? And it doesn't. But what it does speak to is experienced, not only experienced, but mature, experienced and mature crypto voices who go, I have been promised the sun, the moon, and the stars in crypto. And I'm only just now seeing decent gaming. I'm only just now, I mean, anyone who was talking about crypto real estate, I mean, we know Domingo and Domingo
bingo.
at Homebase DAO, and they're doing fractionalized real estate. They're doing the dang thing, but most other people are promising like your title on the blockchain, and it's like, bros, like you are still years out from. You can fractionalize stuff. That's easy. You're just doing SEC fundraising, tossing them, minting them an NFT. That's cute. That's great. You're doing it, but when you have the pitch you presented, I think it really does speak to more experienced people that are like, yeah, 6 months to get that next feature. Do it, son. I mean, I remember the heydays. I bought a soccer team, a real life IRL soccer team with NFTs. You would have loved this project. It was, God, I still have the NFT in my wallet. And it was the Kings, and they had these lions that were awesome. And their goal was to do a fundraise and to buy like some low tier soccer team. And they were an Israeli group. And they even like had identified the soccer team they were going to purchase and move them out to a soccer complex in Israel. But the project fell apart. It got lost in the DAOs and everything. But like, I was me and a buddy here in town who invested in Wonderland with me, we were like, dude, let's get box seats together. So we minted like these box seats and everything. Yeah. The sun, the moon, the stars, man. But I can handle this. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, Brian says so much has happened in AI in the last 6 months. We are rejigging our approach, looking at partnerships, et cetera. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're building anything with blockchain that's tied into AI, it's super difficult right now because I think both
Yeah.
spaces are moving at different speeds, and
Yes.
that is
That's a
going to
good point.
influence kind of how you build. And actually, I'm on a Twitter space tomorrow to talk about the intersection of blockchain and crypto, which I need to be a little bit more brushed up on.
AI and crypto?
I'm sorry. AI and blockchain. Those
Yeah.
are the two things. But I actually had no idea Brian was a part of this. I didn't know about the Yeti apes. I didn't know about any of this. So I need to kind of look into this more. I do
Yeah.
wonder though, what's going to happen. And this goes back to kind of our original conversation. Like, what are the next 6 months about? What are the moves you should be
For
making
which sector?
let's be to crypto. Let's be to crypto for right now.
So we're talking about trading, cryptocurrencies.
You could be trading or just like, what do we think is going to happen? Right. Like the things we were talking about probably before we got on mic was like, hey, is the world going to end? Right. Like, is the Fed going to explode? Because there's enough conversations out there. And if people are interested in you're hearing me talk, hit me up and I'll send you the links because I've been listening to them for about a week and a half now with Raoul Pal, with Balaji, Anthony Pompliano, with Tom Bilyeu.
We should start a LinkedIn space to talk about these particular
I
pieces.
mean,
Go
they're
ahead.
unbelievable. The one I'm listening to right now with Balaji on YouTube, it's 4 hours. On podcast, they're 3 1.5 or 1 hour, 40-minute segments. That's how he kind of like broke it up. But it is some shit, man. Like you do not leave these things. And one of the things Balaji was saying, he's like, dude, I'm not trying to be like a negative, because people hear this and like, oh, he's being so negative. Oh, don't be negative.
Sure.
He's just like, no, I'm just standing on the edge of the ship looking out into the water, and this is what the water looks like. It doesn't look calm, right? There are sharks in the water, right? Is that a hurricane or a tsunami coming, right? Like I'm just trying to be a realist, but sometimes in certain situations, being a realist about the situation may make you seem negative, just because you're calling out the things as you see them. And one of the craziest things that's happened in the news, and I know you've heard about this, is these 5 divers that are stuck in this little submarine because they went to go see the Titanic. And I think that they were part of this company, Shipgate maybe or something, that was going to start to shuttle basically you and I, if we had the coin, down to go see the Titanic. They got locked in this thing. They don't know where they are. Their air, their actual oxygen runs out sometime Thursday. And the craziest thing about this entire thing that I read today was that they're locked in with 17 bolts. You can only get in, they can only get out if they're found and someone takes out these bolts so they can let them out. There's not even a hatch where if they were to come up for air to the surface and just are bobbing there, they can't even open the hatch. I mean, this is like...
And this is how you feel in these 18-hour conferences about those skies falling?
This is how I feel. And unfortunately, the only way to open the hatch is Bitcoin, right? No. But I do feel like we're at a place right now, which is just ridiculous. And one of the other things I said the other day on Twitter, which I think resonated with some people, was somebody was talking about the BlackRock ETF or the BlackRock Trust. And we talked about this last episode, so people can go check that out. Is like, I told somebody in my life and I was like, hey, did you hear about this news? And they had no idea who BlackRock was. And it was at that moment where I was just like,
yeah, you're 12 degrees of separation, bro.
I'm just like, there's no way you're ready for this. I guarantee it, if you don't even know who BlackRock is. Like, I honestly just genuinely believe financially on this world, you're probably not on a path, a good, strong financial path right now, if you don't know who BlackRock is. Now, I'm down to be proven wrong, but I think anyone who's taking their time to invest in the market and understand just how certain things works, you kind of know who the biggest players are. This is like you telling me you want to go to the NBA and you practice every single day, but you don't know who Michael Jordan is. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And so I feel like I'm in this world. It's like a weird dystopian world, you know?
Well, it's weird because it has a lot of things that orbit Web3.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find yourself in a conversation, a Twitter space or a feed or a live that begins to sound like conspiracists. And I had this conversation with some people on my team this morning, and they were bringing up some things that sound like conspiracy. I said, listen, this is the thing that separates X, Y, and Z from its conspiratorial version. X, Y, and Z are probably facts that are verifiable, interesting, curious, and unknown. And when we start to apply motive to it, and then start to soothsay the future based on not the fact, but the motive. And the example I gave, and for those who don't know, I was heavily involved in the charismatic church, from like for a while in my youth in the early 2000s. And there was constant conversation of, we're going to need to become preppers. We're going to need to get our life in order. And as soon as they announced 9/11 happened, and as soon as they announced we were going to Iraq, nearly every event was a confirmation bias of, they're going to put us in FEMA camps. If you disagree with the war, they're going to put you in a FEMA camp. If you're not ready, they're going to, and that was the fear then. And every season has these sorts of moments of the motive of what's going on, and therefore not based on the fact but the motive. Then my conclusion about what I need to do is X. The thing about crypto that's different is that there's not a lot of conspiracy talk per se. But there's still, like, when it comes to regulators are now the boogeyman. The CBDC is now the boogeyman. Gensler is the boogeyman.
WEF.
The
The
what?
World Economic Forum is one that gets strung
Yeah,
up
the
all the
World
time.
Economic Forum. And the motives behind these people is to either shut it down or power control, and therefore we need to prep like X, Y, and Z. And this is what I told my team, and I'll say this about money and crypto. I told my team, if you want to live in the woods because you feel more secure, because I do too. I literally do. I have a streak in me that's just like, okay, let's go back to the land. I love technology, and as long as it's there, but secretly when I lay down in bed, I go, I hope it all falls together so I could just say screw everything, and go surfing tomorrow, right? Like I got that. But I told my team, I said, listen, if you've got that in you, you don't need the conspiracies
Mhm.
to say this is what I want, and that's the same thing I'll say about crypto and money. I just think it's wise to dollar cost average. I think it's wise to own Bitcoin. I don't know what's going on with inflation, and I don't know. We could say it's going to look like this in the next 6 months. Back to your question, what's it going to look like in the next 6 months?
Mhm.
Most people will be operating in fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Most people building like Brian would have rolled out new features. The dust for the OGs would have settled. But this is like when I was talking to Jackie Roach today, and when I'm looking at what Brian's doing. Crypto is doing what I think I predicted. It's abstracting into its pertinent fields.
Mhm.
Like Jackie and her people, they do all their stuff for this DAC FP and their crypto advisors, and they're going into some of the institutional consultation. That's cool.
Mhm.
NFTs like Bored Apes, they apparently are still building features, but there's less hoorah around it. The price will deflate a little bit. So that's why I ask, like, which sector? Because we could probably get into it, and those trends are happening. But for traders, I think stacking sats is probably the safest play. But here's a question:
I think I'm an
do you think
investor,
most of
not a trader, but
an investor? Well, they need to. Traders need to become investors. They're totally detrimental to the system, in my opinion.
mm,
Um, but let me. That's the other question I was going to ask. What societal forces that had nothing to do with crypto drove people to crypto? Drove traders to crypto? Promise of fast money. And right now, it's proving that what do they say about riches? Fast riches leave, or quick riches leave quickly.
mm.
And I think that's inevitable. And AI is going to do the same thing. And spatial, what's the joke now? We've already moved on from AI. We're in spatial engineering. Is that the joke
Is
now?
that the joke? I
Like
don't
the
even know.
Apple's Vision Headset Pro, like everyone's posting that they're spatial technicians, spatial specialists now.
I haven't heard that,
And it's
but
like,
I
oh,
please send me the meme. I love a good meme.
I don't know. How do you think it's going to look in the next 6 months?
I think it's what you said. The builders are going to be moving forward, and the people who, I guess, this is something that I was yesterday. Yesterday was Juneteenth in the United States. It was also a holiday in Colombia. So it's one of these days where I live also respects the holidays of my work. So it was like a great day. And I went to the gym and I just kind of had an easier day and I was editing my podcast. And it was really sunny out and nice. And I was like, I should probably be outside. But I was like, there's going to be other sunny days, but I have made a commitment to myself to try to get out an episode every week. And I had the episode
Yeah.
drop this morning. It's a great episode with this guy, Thomas from Hey Apollo. They're building on the Lightning Network. I think it's a really cool project. And the thing that is becoming more and more obvious to me, and I think it is to you as well, and this is probably why you and I like to hang out and we talk off mic as well, probably to Brian, probably to Allison, probably to George. You have to be building in the age of AI. The only way that I can see for me to continue to stay relevant is you have to have a brand. It could either be your personal brand or it could be a
100%.
company brand that you actually have founded, right? Like Jeff Bezos is
100%.
through Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and that thing just feeds itself. Because
Yeah.
I on Sunday finally bought ChatGPT Plus, so I had access to 3.5
Yeah.
and 4, and I started downloading some plugins, and I was playing around with a PDF because I know a lot of companies right now, and we're going to go over a little bit here, but a lot of companies,
That's okay.
as Andy said on the episode that I did with him, Andy Bryant, he is a guy who's been building an AI for many years. He is just spot on. He said, look, if your job does one of these things or both of these things, you will be in trouble. That is just the way that this is going to play out. And those two words are the following: search and synthesis, right? So search meaning go onto the internet, figure out something, pull it down. It's a PDF, and now you have to learn about it, and then I have to share it with other people or turn it
Yes.
into something. Take that
Yes.
and curate it to a better thing, which, to be fair, is kind of what Bubbles is doing, right? That's a search. It's pulling in and it's synthesizing, but it's doing it in a way that's visually stimulating. So let me get back to the search and synthesis. So much of our world, many people's jobs are clerical in their search and synthesis. And at my
Yes.
old company, which will remain nameless, they're going to get replaced by AI in the next 2 to 3 years if they're not careful, because a lot
Yes.
of it is search and synthesis. So that's what I was starting to play around. And it was in playing around ChatGPT and trying to make it more of a play, not like because I think when you can play with it, I just think it's a better experience.
Oh yeah.
It became really obvious to me that if you're listening to this, you need to build a brand. You either need to be
Build a brand.
part of a brand. It's the only
Yes.
way forward. Either you start a brand that you have your side brand. It's like,
Yes.
Grant's Baking Company, Grant's Vegan Baking Company, and however you're going to get that out to the world and monetize that, as we were talking about earlier. I do think you're right. You should have a path to monetization. It doesn't need to be the first thing you do, but you should have a path to it. Or you have your own personal brand. Grant is a baker. Everyone loves Grant.
Yeah.
Or Grant loves baking, so Grant goes and buys stock from another brand. You have to tie
Yeah.
yourself to brands. It's the only way to survive AI financially. That is kind of the realization I had. Either that's investing. So for me, it's like investing in Bitcoin. I think that
Yeah.
that's a good thing. I think that that's a brand that's going to continue to pay off. For me, it's building more than blockchain. And then for me, on a personal level, it's figuring out how I can continue to add value to the relationships professionally that I surround myself with. So anyways, that
Yeah.
is the thing. So in the next 6 months, I just hope to continue to see the people that I engage with and
Yeah.
continue to build their brands. And I want to try to help them to do that the best I can, because I really think that in 2 to 3 years, when AI is in a different place and it started to take out some of the search and synthesis, and it's going to take out other things, it doesn't matter if you're a great lawyer at a law firm and you were there for 15 years and never became a partner. If you don't
Yeah.
have a brand, because you want to be the partner, because you want to tie yourself to the brand. That's the whole reason why.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to start to think about this. I think that that's kind of what I was left with. So over the next 6 months, I hope to do that, and I hope to help other people. And that's what we're doing here.
Well, and I know we're over, but I think this is critical. Like, if for anyone who might catch this, I did a post, I did my show yesterday about leadership, the 4 things that AI will never replace in leadership. And it was emotive. I said in there, like, we're learning what leadership isn't. Leadership isn't, like you're saying, search and synthesis. It's not planning. It's not coming up with a 5-point plan. It's not even pattern recognition and trend setting. Oftentimes we would consider someone a guru or a leader if they're like, man, I see that this trend is happening. We're going to have all of that. So, but there is still something about leadership that we still hold this bucket for in our head or our heart. We recognize, man, that person's really leading well. Or said inversely, they're not being led. So we actually define leadership. We don't even know what it is anymore, so much so that most people define leadership by its lack, and they don't even know what it's exactly lacking. And the thing that I don't think ever, and I don't say this about a lot about AI. AI will replace much more than people think. But much more, because they don't understand the learning trajectory. I don't even care where the tech is at today. The learning trajectory is scary. People can't fathom it. But the thing you'll never do is the thing that leadership does. Leadership can take a plan that AI can generate and artistically or systematically, I don't know which, connect that through dialogue with the people they're leading to an emotional connection. I can get a plan from ChatGPT on how to execute my blog, and I might be a doer and be able to execute that. But that is rare. People are starting to get all these synthesis, all these plans, all this input from ChatGPT, but they're not connected to that cause emotionally in any way, shape, or form. And I say that to say that's kind of like the filling, what you're talking, the connection between what I'm saying, what you're saying about brand. Personal brand is the trusting you long enough to hear you to your leadership. Trusting you long enough to stick around to or filter you. 2 people could listen to us talk about crypto, and you and I could go toe to toe about crypto and how Bitcoin works and the tech underneath it. And we could probably actually have a lot of the same data points. But what we have differently is our temperament, our presentation.
Hmm.
Grant likes to pontificate quite a bit more. You like to get to the salient points in your own way. But we have our own brands, and I'm wearing my brand. My brand is around me, and you do too, you know. And so someone like Brian, let's just use a hypothetical right here by Brian. Let's say Brian's launching a project and wants consultation in crypto. He's going to watch a show like this where we're building our personal brands. And he's going to think, you know what? I really like that guy, Jarrett, man. I like how he presents. Something about you connected with Brian because of this. And then he engages you. This would be the personal brand. And then if you have the goods, he's now found a huge resource that AI can't touch. So I say all that as kind of backdrop to I 100% agree with you. Personal brand. And this is why I work so hard like you do at making sure I'm connecting with people, not just shoving stuff down their throat. You've seen some of my posts. I try to get them richer and richer right now because I'm really trying to make my voice stand out, and I'm figuring that out because I think it's like Bitcoin. It's an immutable asset that you carry with you that they can't take away. They can't take it from you. Your personal brand. Well, maybe they can take Andrew Tate's, but that's for another day.
All right, I'll start on the shout outs. I have a shout out.
Yeah, yeah.
My shout out is to Brian and his team for creating the little
Yes.
NFT bubbles. I think it's really
Yes.
cool. And I think it's one of those things that is probably a first step or first couple steps in their roadmap. And they'll look back in 5 years and be like, remember we did NFT bubbles? That was kind of funny. But that brought the attention that we needed to do this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that, et cetera, as you were just saying. So that's a shout out. And a shout out to Andrew Tate, who didn't self-custody his Bitcoin, or I'm not even sure, but he lost $500,000 of Bitcoin because from what I've heard, he didn't self-custody it. So I think the Romanian government just went to wherever he had it on exchange. So make sure you self-custody,
I didn't know.
everyone. Yeah, there's my shout out.
Bro, that's like salt in a wound.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh man. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. My shout out is to the Romanian government. My shout out is to Aussie, who's not with us today. He's still around. Don't worry, he's doing fantastic. My shout out, as usual, is if Jay is on the planet, we think about you, we love you, and you're in our thoughts and prayers, my friend. And I will say, my shout out is to this submarine people because that would be my personal nightmare.
oh,
And it's freaky in today's day and age, as connected as every point on the planet seems to be. There are still frontiers that people are pushing out there, and it's scary sometimes. So to them and their families. So that's what I got today. Where can you follow us, people? Follow us on Friday, 10 a.m. right here. Like, subscribe, share if you just need a little bit of crypto therapy, friends. That's what we're here for. Have a great one, Brian. Thanks for